So those tickets for people that had McDaniels' first coach fired, you can cash those. He was plus 350 as recently as October 10th, 11th, in that range. The timing of this, Paul, coming off the Monday night game, which was a total debacle where they were just, I thought that box score was misleading, where they were lucky to be in the game. The Lions should have scored probably 40 points. But also, I would sit here and say that, was that game his fault? Like, Garoppolo was as bad as an NFL quarterback can possibly be. When you have one of the best weapons in football who's he does his job, he gets that wide open, and Garoppolo misses him by that many yards. Is that McDaniels' fault? It's not, but it's in totality here, this is getting worse by the week with the Raiders.
Yes. You good point with the timing. It's 9 hours after the deadline, and you make this move. You also got rid of your GM, so nobody's safe. Davis was asked, who's calling the plays? I don't know, he said. Lombardi's son's the OC. Antonio Pierce takes over as the interim. O'Connell likely to start now Sunday. Garoppolo back to the bench, according to reports. Pierce has been a coach for a year and a half.
Think about that.
What he's done, I know. But when they played the Chargers a couple weeks ago, a fan walked by his suite and said, get rid of McDaniels. What are you doing? It's time to move on. He doesn't know what he's doing. And Davis stands up and goes, think, come on, you got to be smart. And he did it. And then weeks later, he gets rid of him. So he signed a 6-year contract in 2022, and he's on the hook now for that money. And he makes it, and again, just like Denver, a year and a half in, he's gone.
Sure.
So he can't be a coach
Nothing
again.
like coaching contracts,
But this goes back to he got credit because he worked with Tom Brady. And Brady was the greatest quarterback ever. And for some reason, McDaniels deserves credit for that. It doesn't make any sense.
No, he'll never be. This is Captain Obvious checking in. Josh McDaniels will never, ever be a head coach in the NFL ever again.
So also what you said, Adams had one catch in that game Monday night. Adams has been on a milk carton the whole year. Adams has been unhappy. The scheme stinks. What happened to Hunter Renfrow, who a couple of years ago had 100 catches? Yeah. He has 10 receptions. He's never making an impact or doing anything as well. So he is just a bad coach, bad coordinator, bad everything. And who cares if you have anything to do with Tom Brady's success? It means nothing here. And it's ridiculous. And we'll run down his resume coming up, but it's just...
Well, Paul, we are halfway into the season already. Their offense has yet to score 20 points.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. It's absolutely embarrassing. It's pathetic.
You're 31st in total offense. You're 30th points per game, and you're last rushing.
Thank God Mark Davis finally woke up.
Good for him.
Now, what are they going to do to move on beyond this guy? This has been, from day one, this has been an absolute disaster. I'm not going to get into any of the details locally here, and I'm probably in the minority of what we did here locally by giving them that much money. I think it was an absolute disaster, and I was saying it on the show I had back then, to build the stadium. And it's just no vision whatsoever. The Gruden stuff was worse than this. They brought in Bisaccia, and somehow that dude never got any credit for turning the team around, and they were a playoff team.
There you go.
Amazingly enough.
There you go. You just hit on it.
The year before McDaniels got here.
Yes. The head coach and GM inherited a playoff team that went 10-7 and lost on the final play to the Bengals, who went to the Super Bowl. And as Davis said in the presser, they're going to take us to the next level. He's running into the ground, what he's done.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So you have to tie that in to remember a couple weeks ago, why isn't O'Connell playing? Well, it's not the preseason anymore. You'd already played him in a game.
Mm-hmm, right.
And then you put Hoyer out there, who's lost 13 in a row, and they couldn't move the ball and got beat by the Bears. But as bad as it's been this year, you tie in the last year and a half, and that's why he had to go. Lost to an undrafted Division II rookie making his first start. Lost to a high school coach in his first game. Remember that? Saturday comes in?
Oh, yeah.
And he ran all over him?
Yeah.
Blew a double-digit lead to a quarterback who never practiced with the team. The Rams signed Baker Mayfield. 2 days later, he played, won the game, knocked them out of the playoffs that Thursday night game. Blew 3 double-digit leads. Blew the biggest lead in franchise history. Up 20 at halftime at home against Arizona. Got shut out in a game when the starting offense didn't cross midfield.
Yeah,
That's all on his watch.
I actually think you could argue last year was worse than this year so far because they actually had leads, and a lot of them were double digits. and they could never. The Arizona loss last year was an all-timer to give that game away, and how they could not get one stop against Kyler Murray. The game was over with at halftime, and you could just see it coming from a mile away. Oh, maybe it wasn't over. And they allowed Murray to make these plays every single time he snapped the ball, and he's running around like a maniac, making plays with his legs the entire time. That was it. This is a great tweet from Christian Fourier. Does radio in Boston. Most games with 21 or fewer points this season. Raiders, Josh McDaniel, 8. Giants, Brian Dable, 7. Patriots, Bill O'Brien, 7. And he sarcastically asked the question, anything in common with these teams and coaches?
Yeah. Isn't that something?
To your point of who they worked with.
That's right.
Previous regime, the former quarterback, these guys, have never worked out when they've left Belichick's tree.
Right. Now, this is where it chaps my ass. Matt Nagy got credit for Kansas City and Mahomes. Peterson got credit for the Kansas City offense. Bieniemy, no credit.
Yeah.
Has to take a lateral move. Look at the year Howell's having. There's been good and bad, but he just threw for 400 yards. Sure. Bieniemy got no credit. It's all Andy Reid and Mahomes, no credit. But this guy gets credit for coaching Brady. And also, imagine you think Tim Tebow can be a good quarterback in the NFL. Start with that, with the long catapult windup and his ridiculous delivery. Double down on it and give up multiple picks and move up to take him in the first round. That's also McDaniels and what he did, too. So that's just, tying it into his record in Denver, the short stay there, and then now with this debacle here locally. Well, it's just you got what you deserve. You shouldn't have the job in the first place.
Never should have hired the guy. No. And we were saying that at the time, too. So the next move now for the Raiders, and rest assured, sportsbooks are going to be posting this, right? Who's going to be the next coach? Well, the instant reaction last night and this morning has been, it's going to be Jim Harbaugh. He's going to skedaddle, get out of Michigan, because the pictures that are coming out from that assistant, whoever that guy is on the sidelines of these other games with the sunglasses on.
Right.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
I think it was Stuart Mandel last night who said, I cannot wait for the 30 for 30 on this guy. Oh, sign me up.
Right.
I want like 2.5 hours on this guy.
Sure. But after the game, McElwain, who's a Central Michigan coach, said he wasn't on any pass list. I don't know how this happened. We're investigating it. Yeah. He's got the sunglasses on. He's got the Central Michigan gear on. This is crazy.
He looks like an assistant coach.
Right. Just standing there.
So anyway, people assume it's going to be Jim Harbaugh. What does Michigan do? Do they just say, I don't care what's going on with the, quote, scandal? Jim, we don't want you to go anywhere. Here's another contract. Here's 10 years.
I think they're going to lock him up.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, are they breaking any rules? The committee said we pay no mind to it yesterday. Yeah. That's an NC2A matter. It has nothing to do with it. So this is...
Here's the thing with Mark Davis, too. Don't we always hear that he is cash-strapped? He's got no money to spend. Forget about free agents. Forget about, doling it out like he's a billionaire, like these other NFL owners. He's got nothing, which... Okay, who really believes that? But we hear that all the time. And this guy was willing to say, I've had enough. A couple of weeks after what you just pointed out, when he was confronted by a fan who said, what are you doing here, pal? You got to get... He said, calm down, use your head.
Yeah, think. Be smart. No, can't do that.
And then a couple of weeks later, here we are, McDaniels can't.
Well, it didn't look good last year because how many closed-door meetings did they have?
It was like every week down the stretch.
There were numerous closed-door meetings because they kept blowing double-digit halftime, fourth-quarter leads. Yeah. And what happened? He was supposed to take him to the next level. I mean, it's, again, you took over a playoff team. And it's also tied into getting rid of the GM, too. Can you hit on any of these draft picks? Can you get... The Ruggs thing is one thing, but it's like what Arnett, another one. Well, it's one thing you take a guy, he turns out to be a bust. It's another thing where you're killing people and getting arrested or threatening to kill people about what you're doing. And in the previous, with Gruden and Mayock, it was just, we'll just take an Alabama Clemson guy.
They sent him back for years.
Oh, God.
They say they can get a guy like Max Crosby correct. And also, it really bothered me when they drafted Khalil Mack. He's on a Hall of Fame path, and they're like, nope, no money. We're going to trade him. Got to get rid of him. So you're going to draft a guy who's going to be one of the very best at his position, and when his contract is up, you're going to say, no, we can't afford you, and move on from that. What does that tell you about what they're going to do with future guys who they hit on during the draft? Oh, sorry, no money. We've got to move on from them. I mean, it's just like the whole thing is just it's so bad. And, I mean, yes, brand new stadium, great city to live in, yada, yada, yada. How attractive is this job? I mean, it's an NFL job, so it's going to be like,
but it also depends what draft pick you get too.
Well,
with this quarterback class,
that's what ties into which guy they're going to land.
Yeah, but it's when you have a conversation with a Bears fan, though. Who cares? We can't pick our nose. Yeah. We can't get the picks right. So who cares if we have 2 top 5 picks?
And now
but yeah, it's.
By the way, this week against the Giants at home, the look ahead was 3.5.
Yeah,
they're down to 1.5.
Yeah,
I actually bet the Giants +3 right away on Sunday night. New head coach angle, you know how that typically can go?
Yeah, well, who knows, though? I mean, that was Saturday came in, beat the Raiders, didn't win a game the rest of the year. And then, here Pierce will take over, and then it'll probably be O'Connell, but who knows how they'll respond. I do know this. There's plenty of talent on offense.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.